What if I told you the most dangerous people in your life aren't loud, aggressive, or openly hostile? They don't argue with you, they don't attack you, they don't even admit they dislike you. They smile, they listen, they stay close, quietly, and over time they weaken you. Most people assume hatred looks obvious, but Stoic wisdom teaches something far more unsettling. Real harm often arrives wrapped in politeness, concern, even familiarity. If you've ever felt drained after certain conversations, confused after taking someone's advice, or strangely smaller around people who claim to support you, this isn't paranoia. It's perception waking up. The Stoics didn't teach fear, they taught clarity. They taught how to observe human behavior without emotion, without panic, without revenge. In this video, we'll uncover 7 subtle signs someone doesn't just hate you, they want to quietly ruin you. Not so you can fight them, but so you can protect your peace, reclaim your power, and walk away stronger. Stay with me. Sign 1. They undermine you, never confront you. One of the clearest signs someone wants to quietly ruin you is this. They never challenge you directly. They don't sit across from you and say, "I disagree." They don't bring problems to you face to face. Instead, they operate in the shadows, subtle, polite, indirect. They smile when you speak. They nod in agreement. They may even praise you in public. But behind your back, they plant doubts. They question your competence. They frame your intentions as questionable, your decisions as reckless, your success as undeserved. This kind of person avoids confrontation not because they are peaceful, but because direct conflict would expose them. Stoic philosophy places enormous value on clarity and honesty. For the Stoics, a direct enemy is easier to deal with than a hidden one. When someone refuses to confront you openly, they aren't seeking resolution, they're seeking control without accountability. Think about how this shows up in real life. At work, it's the colleague who agrees with you in meetings, then later raises concerns to others when you're not present. In friendships, it's the person who laughs with you, yet subtly rewrites your words when retelling stories. In families, it's the relative who claims they want harmony while quietly poisoning how others see you. What makes this behavior dangerous isn't just the damage, it's the confusion it creates. You sense something is wrong, but you can't point to a clear attack. You feel tension, but nothing overt enough to defend against. And that uncertainty slowly erodes your confidence. This is not accidental. Undermining works best when you start questioning yourself instead of questioning the behavior. Here's the Stoic reframe that matters. Truth doesn't need secrecy. If someone had a real issue with you, integrity would demand they bring it to you directly. When they don't, it tells you everything you need to know. A Stoic does not chase explanations. They observe patterns. Ask yourself, do this person's words and actions align? Do problems only surface when you're absent? Do others seem to know things you never said? Those are not misunderstandings, those are signals. The correct Stoic response here is not anger, confrontation, or public defense. It's withdrawal of access. You stop oversharing. You stop explaining your intentions. You stop assuming goodwill where behavior consistently contradicts it. Not out of bitterness, but out of discipline. Remember, you're not obligated to make yourself transparent to people who operate indirectly. Access to your plans, thoughts, and vulnerabilities is a privilege, not a right. The moment you stop feeding them information, their leverage disappears. This is how Stoics protect themselves, not by exposing enemies, but by starving them of influence. So if someone never confronts you, yet you always feel diminished around them, trust that signal. Not emotionally, rationally. Repeat this to yourself. I respond to patterns, not explanations. That mindset alone can save you years of confusion and keep your inner foundation intact. Sign 2. They're calm when you struggle. Another subtle but powerful sign someone wants to quietly ruin you is this. When you're struggling, they're unusually calm. Not concerned, not unsettled, not moved. They don't panic when things fall apart for you. They don't rush to help. They don't ask many questions. They simply observe. At first, this calm can look like emotional maturity. You might tell yourself they're just being rational, or they don't want to make things worse. But there's a crucial difference between grounded support and quiet satisfaction, and your body often senses it before your mind does. Think about it. When someone genuinely cares about you, your hardship affects them. They may not dramatize it, but there's a visible shift, attentiveness, presence, concern. When someone secretly resents you, your struggle creates relief. It confirms a silent story they've been holding, that you're not as strong as you think, not as capable as you appear, not as ahead as they feared. Stoicism teaches us to watch reactions, not speeches. A person who wants to see you fail doesn't need to push you. Life will do that for them. All they need to do is stay still and let gravity work. Their calm is not strength, it's permission. This shows up in quiet, unsettling ways. You share a setback, and they respond with something flat like, "Well, that's life." You admit doubt, and instead of grounding you, they subtly reinforce it. Maybe it just wasn't meant for you. You hit a low point, and they suddenly become distant, unavailable, or oddly detached. Notice the pattern. They don't encourage resilience. They normalize defeat. From a Stoic perspective, this is dangerous because it interferes with your inner posture. In moments of struggle, the mind is suggestible. We absorb external interpretations of our situation more easily. A calm, dismissive presence during your low points can quietly shape how you see yourself. And that's the goal. They don't need to attack you when you're strong. They wait for weakness, then quietly frame it as identity. The Stoics warned against outsourcing your inner narrative. Epictetus emphasized that what harms us is not the event itself, but the meaning we attach to it. Someone who stays calm while you suffer is often waiting for you to attach the most limiting meaning possible. Here's the distinction you must learn to make. Supportive calm stabilizes you. Indifferent calm shrinks you. If you consistently feel smaller, heavier, or less capable after opening up to someone, pay attention. That's not coincidence. That's information. The Stoic response here is precise and disciplined. You do not accuse. You do not test them. You do not demand empathy. You change access. You stop bringing your struggles to people who watch without warmth. You reserve vulnerability for those whose presence strengthens your posture, not weakens it. And when support isn't available, you practice the most Stoic skill of all, standing with yourself. Remember, not everyone deserves a front row seat to your difficult chapters. Some people only want to witness them, not help you through them. So when someone remains perfectly calm while you're breaking down, don't dramatize it, don't personalize it, simply adjust. Hold this line firmly. My struggles are not entertainment, and my recovery is not optional. That awareness alone can quietly save you from being surrounded by the wrong kind of calm. Sign 3. They give advice that weakens you. One of the most deceptive ways someone can quietly ruin you is through advice that sounds caring but slowly makes you smaller. They don't discourage you outright. They don't tell you to quit. They don't openly doubt your ability. Instead, they soften your edge. They tell you to be realistic. They suggest you slow down. They remind you not to put too much pressure on yourself. On the surface, this sounds reasonable, even compassionate. But over time, this kind of advice does something dangerous. It conditions you to lower your standards while believing you're being wise. Stoic philosophy teaches that not all advice is equal. Words have weight, but character gives them authority. Before listening, a Stoic asks a quiet question. Is this person living in a way that earns the right to guide me? Advice that weakens you rarely comes from someone who has faced discomfort voluntarily. It often comes from people threatened by your forward motion. Your discipline exposes their avoidance. Your ambition highlights their comfort. So they don't attack your goals. They reframe them as unnecessary. This usually follows a pattern. When you talk about growth, they talk about balance. When you talk about commitment, they talk about burnout. When you talk about sacrifice, they talk about peace. None of these are wrong in isolation, but placed strategically, they act like brakes on your momentum. Notice the timing. These comments rarely appear when you're already comfortable. They surface when you're pushing, stretching, or enduring difficulty. That's when your resolve is most vulnerable and when their influence is most effective. The Stoics warned against this kind of external shaping. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to stand straight, not straightened. In other words, don't let others adjust your posture under the disguise of concern. Here's the practical test. Does their advice make you feel more capable or more hesitant, clearer or more conflicted, strengthened or subtly relieved from effort? Weakening advice feels good in the moment because it offers permission to retreat, but later it leaves behind quiet regret. And regret is far more destructive than discomfort. Another red flag is this. They never follow their advice with personal example. They tell you to slow down, but they've never sped up. They warn you about risk, but they've never taken one. They speak about limits, but they've never tested theirs. That disconnect matters. A Stoic does not accept direction from someone who avoids the path themselves. This isn't arrogance, it's discernment. The correct Stoic response is not argument. You don't need to prove your vision. You don't need to convince them of your capacity. You simply filter input. You stop discussing your hardest goals with people who can't tolerate tension. You stop seeking validation for discipline from those who choose comfort. And you let results speak where explanations would weaken you. Remember, not all advice is meant to help you succeed. Some advice exists to help others feel safe around your potential. That's not your responsibility. So when someone consistently offers guidance that pulls you away from effort, resilience, or growth, listen carefully, not to their words, but to the effect those words have on you. Then hold this Stoic line. I don't take direction from people who aren't willing to walk into difficulty themselves. That single filter can protect your momentum, your standards, and ultimately your future. Sign 4. They subtly compete with you. One of the most revealing signs someone wants to quietly ruin you is subtle competition. Competition they never admit to, but constantly act on. They don't challenge you openly. They don't declare rivalry. They don't say they want what you have. Instead, they keep score in silence. Every achievement you share is followed by a comparison. Every step forward you take is measured against their own position, and every success you earn is quietly reduced, reframed, or rushed past. At first, this behavior can seem harmless. You might tell yourself they're just motivated or driven, but over time, something feels off. Conversations begin to revolve around who's ahead, who's doing better, who has it harder. Your progress stops being celebrated and starts being evaluated. Stoicism teaches us to notice what disturbs our inner balance. Healthy competition sharpens you. Unspoken rivalry drains you. Subtle competitors don't want to defeat you publicly. They want to invalidate you privately. This often appears in small, almost forgettable moments. You mention a win, and they immediately bring up someone doing more. You share good news, and they respond with their own, slightly bigger story. You express pride, and they inject doubt with phrases like, "That's good, but let's see how it holds up. None of these moments are explosive. That's the danger. Each one lands softly, but together they create an atmosphere where your achievements never feel complete. From a Stoic perspective, this is a trap. Comparison pulls your attention away from what you control, your character, effort, and discipline, and ties your sense of worth to external ranking. And that makes you manipulable. A person who subtly competes with you benefits when you start explaining yourself, justifying your progress, or minimizing your own growth to keep the peace. That's how they gain leverage. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself not to waste time worrying about what others were doing, but to focus on doing what was right. Subtle competition is dangerous because it tempts you to abandon that focus and step into someone else's measuring system. Here's the key question to ask. Do you feel energized after sharing progress with this person, or oddly deflated? If your momentum drops after certain conversations, that's not coincidence. That's your nervous system recognizing a shift from mutual respect to silent rivalry. The Stoic response is calm and decisive. You stop broadcasting milestones. You stop narrating your journey. You let your work mature in private, not because you're hiding, but because growth doesn't need commentary. When you reduce visibility, subtle competitors lose their reference points. They can't compare what they can't see, and without comparison, their influence fades. This is not coldness, it's self-respect. Remember, a Stoic measures life by virtue, not by position. If someone consistently tries to place you on a ladder beside them, they're already operating outside that philosophy. You don't need to confront them. You don't need to expose the competition. You simply step off the scoreboard and quietly remind yourself, my progress doesn't need an audience. That single shift protects your focus, preserves your momentum, and keeps your path clear of unnecessary comparison. Because the moment you stop competing, you also stop being available to those who need you to stay in the race with them. Sign 5. They test your boundaries repeatedly. One of the clearest indicators that someone wants to quietly ruin you is their relationship with your boundaries. Not once, not accidentally, but repeatedly. They cross small lines and watch what happens. They make jokes that leave a sting. They interrupt your time, your focus, your rest. Then they observe whether you resist or adapt. At first, these moments feel minor, easy to brush off. You might tell yourself you're being too sensitive or that it's not worth the tension, and that's exactly why this strategy works. Boundary testing isn't about the boundary itself. It's about how much of you they can access without consequence. Stoicism teaches that self-respect is not declared, it's demonstrated. A person who respects you adjusts after the first signal. A person who wants leverage keeps pushing, pretending not to notice the damage. This behavior often hides behind charm. They tease you publicly, then say, "Relax, I was just joking." They demand your time, then act offended when you're unavailable. They ignore your preferences, then accuse you of being difficult when you speak up. Notice the pattern. When you assert yourself, they reframe you as the problem. That inversion is intentional. A Stoic understands that anyone who benefits from your lack of boundaries will resist them, not loudly, but persistently. Each test asks the same question: how much can I take before you push back? Over time, this erodes your internal posture. You begin pre-adjusting, you anticipate their reactions, you explain yourself in advance. Slowly, your boundaries stop being yours. This is how quiet ruin begins. Not with attack, but with erosion. Epictetus taught that we are disturbed not by others, but by the judgments we accept. When you tolerate repeated boundary violations, you send a message not to them, but to yourself, that your limits are negotiable. And once that belief sets in, exploitation becomes effortless. The Stoic response here is not emotional confrontation, it's consistency. You don't over-explain, you don't soften your limits to manage their feelings, you don't debate your right to say no, you simply act. You end conversations that turn disrespectful, you reduce availability when time is abused, you disengage when humor becomes a weapon. Boundaries are not speeches, they are behaviors. And here's the key Stoic insight. You don't need the other person to agree with your boundary for it to exist. Their discomfort is not evidence of your wrongdoing. It's evidence that access is being removed. If someone reacts with guilt-tripping, sarcasm, or withdrawal when you hold your line, pay attention. That reaction reveals what they were benefiting from. A person who wants you strong will adapt. A person who wants you controllable will resist. So stop asking whether you're being fair. Start asking whether you're being clear. Remember, Stoic strength is quiet. It doesn't seek permission. It doesn't argue. It doesn't escalate. It simply chooses itself. When you consistently protect your time, energy, and dignity, boundary testers either adjust or disappear, and both outcomes serve you. Hold this firmly in mind. Access to me is earned, not assumed. That principle alone can prevent countless small violations from turning into long-term damage. Sign 6. They disappear when you become stronger. One of the quietest but most revealing signs someone never truly wanted your growth is this. They begin to disappear as you become stronger. Not abruptly, not dramatically, just subtly. They reply slower. They show less interest. They stop asking questions about your life. At first, you might assume it's coincidence. People get busy. Priorities change. But when the timing aligns perfectly with your increased clarity, discipline, or self-respect, it's not random. It's reaction. Some people are comfortable around you only when you're uncertain, when you needed advice, when you doubted yourself, when you were seeking reassurance. Your growth quietly removes a role they were playing, advisor, validator, rescuer, or silent superior. And when that role disappears, so does their engagement. Stoicism teaches us to observe changes in behavior without resentment. Not everyone who walks with you is meant to walk with you indefinitely, but the reason someone leaves matters. When a person fades as you strengthen, it often reveals that the relationship was built on imbalance. They felt needed when you were unsure. They felt relevant when you were struggling. They felt safe when you were smaller. But strength shifts dynamics. Confidence removes dependency. Self-direction eliminates leverage. And for some, that feels like loss. This shows up in quiet signals. They used to encourage you. Now they're indifferent. They used to listen, now they deflect. They used to be close, now they keep distance. There's no conflict to point to, no argument to resolve, just absence. The Stoic mistake here is trying to pull them back. You might explain yourself, you might soften your growth, you might make yourself smaller again to restore connection. But that would be a betrayal of your progress. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself not to depend on external approval to remain steady. When people drift away as you grow, the Stoic response is not self-blame. It's acceptance with clarity. Ask yourself one honest question. Did this connection thrive when I was uncertain but weaken when I became grounded? If the answer is yes, then the distance is not punishment, it's alignment. Stoicism teaches that loss is not always subtraction. Sometimes it is refinement. Not everyone is meant to know the stronger version of you. Some only had access to an earlier draft. And that's not cruelty. It's reality. The disciplined response is simple and quiet. You don't chase. You don't confront. You don't demand explanations. You allow space to do what space always does. Reveal truth. If they return when you are calm, clear, and self-directed, the connection may have been temporary, but genuine. If they don't, then their presence was conditional. Either way, you gain information. The Stoic protects progress above familiarity. Growth will always feel lonely at certain stages, not because you're wrong, but because you're changing faster than your environment. So when someone fades as you rise, don't interpret it as rejection. Interpret it as confirmation and hold this firmly. Not everyone who liked my past will understand my future. That acceptance preserves your momentum and prevents you from shrinking to keep others comfortable. Sign 7. They never truly celebrate you. The final and often most painful sign someone wants to quietly ruin you is this. They never truly celebrate you. They might acknowledge your success. They might say the right words, but something is always missing. The enthusiasm feels thin. The moment passes quickly and the conversation moves on as if your achievement made them uncomfortable. At first, you may dismiss it. Not everyone expresses joy the same way. Not everyone knows how to celebrate. But over time, a pattern emerges. When you succeed, they go quiet. When you grow, they disengage. When you win, they shrink the moment. This is not emotional immaturity. It's resistance. Someone who genuinely supports you feels uplifted by your progress, even if they're struggling themselves. Someone who secretly resents you experiences your success as a threat to their identity, their self-image, or their sense of superiority. So instead of celebrating, they minimize. They say things like, "That's nice," and immediately change the subject. They respond with a backhanded compliment. "Must be nice to have that kind of luck." Or they reframe your effort as something external, timing, help, privilege, anything but your discipline. The message is subtle but consistent. Don't shine too brightly. Stoicism teaches that praise and blame come from the same unreliable source, other people's perceptions. A Stoic does not live for applause, but that doesn't mean we ignore patterns in how others respond to our growth. Lack of celebration is not neutral, it's information. When someone cannot sit comfortably with your success, they are revealing an internal conflict. Your progress highlights what they have avoided, delayed, or abandoned. And rather than face that discomfort, they quietly withdraw emotional support. Celebrating you would cost them something. They would have to confront the gap between who they are and who they could be. So instead, they remain cool, controlled, distant. The danger here is subtle. If you keep seeking validation from people who cannot offer it, you may begin to dim yourself. You might downplay achievements. You might stop sharing wins. You might even sabotage momentum to preserve connection. That's the quiet ruin. Stoicism offers a different path. Marcus Aurelius wrote about doing good without needing witnesses. The Stoic learns to anchor self-worth internally, to measure life by character, effort, and alignment with values, not by applause. But here's the distinction. Not needing celebration does not mean tolerating quiet resentment. The Stoic response is not confrontation. It's recalibration. You stop expecting encouragement from those who consistently withhold it. You stop sharing victories with people who treat them like inconveniences. And you redirect energy toward those who meet your growth with steadiness, not insecurity. Remember, celebration is not about noise, it's about presence. A supportive person may not cheer loudly, but they stay engaged. They ask questions. They remain with the moment. They don't rush past your progress. If someone never does that for you, believe what their behavior is telling you. You don't need to cut them off. You don't need to make a statement. You simply adjust proximity. Stoic strength lies in knowing where to place expectation. And you hold this quietly, without bitterness. I don't need applause, but I won't stay where my growth is unwelcome. That clarity allows you to keep building without shrinking, progressing without guilt, and succeeding without carrying the emotional weight of those who never wanted you to rise. Awareness changes everything. Once you see these signs clearly, you stop personalizing what was never about you. You stop chasing clarity from people who benefit from confusion, and you stop handing access to those who quietly weaken your inner foundation. Stoicism was never about suspicion or isolation. It was about discernment, knowing where to place your energy and where not to. Not everyone who smiles at you wants you well. Not everyone who stays close is on your side. And that realization isn't bitter, it's liberating. You don't need revenge. You don't need confrontation. You don't need closure. You need boundaries, clarity, and the discipline to walk your own path without explanation. The moment you stop feeding hidden resistance, it loses power over you. And the moment you protect your peace, your strength multiplies. So take this with you. You don't fight people who want to ruin you quietly. You outgrow them silently, steadily, and without regret. Choose awareness, choose discipline, and above all, choose yourself.